Welcome to AbiBin Academy. Today we'll discuss about one of the very interesting topic that we have in Tableau, which is always confused by the Tableau developers. Tableau has got different filter options in their desktop development. Predominantly context filters and the quick filters or the normal filters are the ones which developers usually use in the dashboard developments. Let's look at what is the difference between these two filters and in a practical example, how does it impact the data? Let's have a look at it. So, context filter and quick filter. The regular way of using filter without making any special characteristic to it is basically the quick filter or the normal filter. They are the regular filters which allow users to control the data what is displayed in the view. This is the one they use in the UI for drop down sliders or checkboxes, etc. Wherein context filter is more of a context dependent filter. It acts as a pre-filter of the data in the view, and then they can limit the data to the subsequent filters that is applied after that. So from an order of execution perspective, context filter gets the preference, it applies first, and after that quick filter comes into picture. Context filter can filter the data, and because of that the performance of the dashboard also can increase, wherein quick filter is basically uh, just to slice and dice the data with the data on the view. Quick filter is what we showcase it to the dashboards as a visible layer where user can click on the drop downs, click on the checkboxes, etc. Wherein context filters are underneath the views of the Tableau workbook and might not be visible to the users. And the purpose is basically depends upon your scenario to scenario. But interestingly, you'll have to understand how these filters are getting applied and how does the view of the data is getting changed because of that. And please keep in mind that context filter is context dependent and it can filter the data. Quick filters are independent and it is acting like a select distinct values from a database angle perspective, which is getting displayed over the dashboard. Let's look at a practical example of finding out a top 10 customer for a region. Let's go to Tableau. Let's pick up the region into the filter shelf and let's select West region. And we'll see how many number of customers are there with the sales value, and then we'll select the top 10 customers out of it. So what I've done is I pulled the customer name and then I have pulled the sales amount. Let's look at it as a graph and let's sort it descending order, and then if you click on this label button you will get the numbers over there. So you can see that in the West region these are the customers with sales, and if we look at the top 10, these are the top 10 customers of this region with sales. So for reference, what we will do, we will right click and then we'll keep this so that we can see what are the real top 10 customers we have. Now this method is actually manually we are selecting the records and filtering it. But for a dashboard development, we have to use formulas, we have to use calculations to make sure that we give the option of top 10 to the user. Now we can use the top end functionality of the filter to do that. Ideally, we're expecting these results to match, right? So let's open another sheet and follow the same. Let's put the region into the filter, select West out of it, get the customer name, and let's get the sales into this, showcase it as a bar graph, sort it descending, and show the labels. And let's look at it. How do we get the top 10 customer out of it? So for that, you can pull the customer name into the filter and then go to the top tab and you can do by field. Let's take the top 10 customers via sales the sum value of the sales. Now when we select this top 10 value from here and then click OK, interestingly you can see that the data that you were expecting is not coming. It is not matching with the sheet 1 where you are seeing the top 10 customer value. Now why is this happening? This is where the distance between or the difference between quick filter and context filter actually relies. Quick filter is independent of the context, meaning when you are putting a filter of region is equal to west, it throws that query into the data source and get the entire data of the west. And then when you're putting the top 10 customer name based on sales, again it throws that query to the data source independently. It gets the top 10 customer sales irrespective of whether it is east, west or north or south. Now this result that you are seeing here is basically the common values with these two filters applied. Wherever there is an intersection between the west and the customer name, that is what you're seeing here, which is why it is not matching with the sheet 1 because it is context independent. Now for our particular use case, we need to see the top 10 value of west region for the customers with sales, right? So the quick tip here is you can just right click on this region and then move this to context. And you can see that immediately the result has changed and it is matching perfectly with this sheet 1. This is because when you do the context filter, it pre-filter the data and the result will be fetched based on that filter. So the second filter of top 10 customer has been applied after it pre-filter the actual data of west, so that this filter will impact only the filtered data rather than independently on the entire data. And that is how we got the right result. So this is the difference between a quick filter and a context filter and how do you apply it. Thank you for watching.